Jacobin columnist and philosophy instructor Ben Burgis grapples with the left's performance politics in his new book, Canceling Comedians While the World Burns, a critique of the contemporary left, and he also offers a path forward for a more strategic left approach.
Host of Them and an Argument and author Ben Burgis, he joins us now to discuss the book and political culture at large. Ben, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Great to see you, Ben.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Absolutely. So, Ben, I crack up every time I read the cover or the title of the book, and obviously it's tongue-in-cheek. But what are you trying to get across here in the book, and what do you see as the biggest problem right now for your movement?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to get across, but certainly what the title comes from is like deep frustration, especially in the last couple of years, with the way that it seems to me that many people who I agree with politically, who have all the same political goals as I do, as a leftist, as democratic socialist, it seems to me have bought into, to a great extent, a way of doing politics that's much more about individual morality. You know, it's like whether people are problematic as people, than it is about trying to appeal to the broadest possible mass of people in order to actually achieve all of those goals that we say we care about: getting everybody health care, ending the wars, democratic socialism. Because it seems to me that you do at a certain point have to pick between a focus on sort of moralistic policing of exactly how people are acting and operating at all times in petty ways, and that kind of broader focus on those things that you say you care about.
Yeah, I mean, that individual morality focus used to be the province of the right. You know, so it has been like strange to see so many truly on the left adopt a similar focus. I'm curious, Ben, first of all, where do you think that comes from? But also, was there like a particular incident that you were like, that's it, I gotta write something about this. This is the final straw. This is driving me nuts. I gotta put pen to paper and get out there why this is so ultimately counterproductive.
Yeah, so I think as far as where it comes from, I don't want to claim that there's like just one cause and that explains everything. In fact, I don't think this would be nearly as much of a problem if it didn't flow from a few different things. But I think that one big cause is that the left, the serious left, has been kind of in exile from the levers of real world power, wandering the desert for a very long time. Even people like Bernie Sanders in the U.S. or Jeremy Corbyn in the U.K., who've had their moment in the last few years. Before that, they spent the vast majority of their political lives as like very marginal backbenchers. And certainly anything more radical than that was completely off the table in, the era of there is no alternative, that famous Margaret Thatcher quote. And when your politics don't seem to have any chance of translating into real world power and to actually achieving your stated platform, it's very easy to get sucked into thinking of the point of left politics not as an attempt to change material reality, but just as a kind of symbolic performance of your own moral commitment, which then very easily shades into a constant interrogation of other people's moral commitment, which is where you get exactly what you were just saying, Crystal, which is this way that suddenly leftists start to sound a lot like sort of traditional conservatives, and in fact, to the point where there's like a really weird performative contradiction sometimes that if some of the same people who quite rightly, in my view, are opposed to mass incarceration, think that we should be locking up far fewer people for a far shorter amount of time with much more focus on rehabilitation. Everybody should get a second chance. Sort of don't think that people should get a second chance if they're people that they're mad at within the left, right? So just a real quick example of that would be Cenk Uygur, the founder of the Young Turks, who whatever I might disagree with him on about different issues, is somebody who founded that network. He did as much as anybody found the Justice Democrats, that elected the squad to Congress. But once every few years, people will rediscover these blog posts that he wrote as a young conservative, like 20 years ago or something like that. And a few years ago, they were rediscovered, and he had stepped down from his position in Justice Democrats. Last year, when he was running for Congress, they were rediscovered, and he lost all of his endorsements. And that's like, one, there's something really weird about that, right? Like, so the rapist who gets out of prison gets a second chance. The person who wrote objectionable blog posts doesn't get a second chance. And then it's also like incredibly strategically misguided if your goal is to persuade as many people as possible and build the largest possible coalition, because the message you're sending is, hey, even if you come around, you're persuaded, you have an epiphany, you come around to our side, we reserve the right to hold against you until the end of time the fact that you once disagreed with us, which, man, I know I want to join a club where those are the rules.
So well said.
So, Ben, infighting, backbiting, and more is kind of intrinsic to the history of leftism, going all the way back to Marx and Engels and all that. Is this just baked in, or is there another way out?
Yeah, I think it's baked in to a certain extent, but I also think that that extent varies wildly over time. That I think even if you look really just at the time frame of the last couple of years, some of this stuff, I don't want to exaggerate, it all very much existed. There are larger trends in American culture in general that feed into some of this stuff, that's definitely not unique to the left. But I do think that some of this stuff was a little bit more under control a year or two ago, when like Bernie Sanders running for president, was a little bit more of a live, was still a live project. And so there seemed to be something at stake a little bit more. I think this stuff gets worse when there doesn't seem to be any immediate prospect of real world breakthroughs, and so you end up just spending your time tearing each other apart over petty nonsense, and I know it's a vicious cycle too, because the problem is that this stuff gets worse when that's true, but also the worse it is, the harder it is to change that actual balance of forces.
Yeah, I think it's that old saying, right? The fights are so vicious because the stakes are so low. It's when people feel like they're powerful. This is the one thing that they can do that makes them feel like they're powerful and have relevance in the discussion. Ben, congrats on the book. Where do you want people to get it?
All right. Books available everywhere books are usually available. But if I could steer people to a specific place, it would be Red Emma's, which is a worker-owned bookstore in Baltimore. You can order books from online. So if you don't want to buy it from Jeff Bezos' sweatshop, I would recommend redemmas.org.
Yes,
right on.
But
Thanks.
we prefer you buy it from Jeff Bezos' sweatshop than not at all. So
yeah.
Red Emma's number one, sweatshop number two. Don't not buy it.
Thanks,
Ben,
dude.
great.
Appreciate it.
Great to see you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Crystal.
Coming up, Ryan Grim discusses the sexual assault allegations made against a progressive New York mayoral candidate. That would be Scott Stringer when Rising returns.